Let's go ahead and pay attention to statistics. And of course, statistics are the single most important data that you're going to collect in your practice. And they're basically going to tell you everything. You're going to manage your practice by statistics, or hopefully you do. And so you got to learn which statistics to keep and and then how to interpret the statistics to make business decisions. But the statistics will tell you everything. They'll tell you where you're at. They'll tell you problems before they become problems. They'll tell you if you have a big problem. They'll tell you what direction you need to move your practice. Statistics tell you everything when you know how to keep them and interpret them. So these are 10 common findings, I call them, of chiropractic underachievers. One of the common ways when I go into an office or I have a new client come in with consulting, I'll just ask them real quick, simple questions, like some very simple statistic questions, like what's your dollar per visit collection? What's your case average? And what's your patient visit weekly? What's your gross collections, production and collection? These are all statistics that, that you should be going over weekly. And the doctor should know, maybe not precisely, exactly, but they should know these statistics. So the 10 common findings of chiropractic underachievers, number one is they don't keep statistics. That's a telltale sign you do not have a successful chiropractor right there. You don't keep statistics. Number two is they distort the statistics they keep. And unfortunately, I see that a lot. They'll just keep the statistics they want, or what I call they'll lie on their statistics. And I'll give you an example. Distorting a statistic, the doctor will go, well, that new patient, I didn't include them in the new patient's stats because they were a truck driver and they were only coming through town. Well, guess what? Every office has truck drivers coming through town. You can't just keep whatever, you can't just keep whatever statistics you want. So first you keep all the statistics, and then you can segment them out accordingly. But you never start by limiting your data collection. You never start that way. Well, as an example, I had one client, he had a lot of new patients that were dropping out. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. Well, when we did the statistical analysis, we found out that he had a special arrangement with nursing homes to do initial exams. So it didn't fall they weren't real into his practice. It was just kind of a unique side job that he did. So we took that category, and then we removed them to the statistics because they should have been removed. But you always start with all the statistics, always. And of course, this is when you're dealing with really somebody that's really pretty much never going to do well in practice. And that's the doctor who blames others for bad statistics. That's true in life. That's not just chiropractic. That's just true in everything. When you don't take personal responsibility, you'll never see highly successful people that do not take personal responsibility. As a matter of fact, you'll see the opposite. That's how they became successful. They acknowledged their statistics, good or bad. They acknowledged their strengths and weaknesses. And then they worked on their weaknesses and magnified their strengths. That's how people do real well. And it's the people who don't keep statistics, distort their statistics, lie on their statistics. The two common things I hear chiropractors who aren't doing well all the time say, I'm in a bad area, whatever that means. People in my area are not health conscious. I see that. I hear that a lot. And then I'll hear, well, there's not good insurance in my area. And to that I say, well, where do people just like to come in and pay you a lot of money? What part of the country does that exist? It doesn't. You have to know how to create it. But some people, when they have that mentality, there's nothing you can do with them. And then that's it. They typically have capped their life, and they'll never get any better when you don't take responsibility. So they do not know their statistics. They do not manage by statistics. And you have to learn how to not only keep statistics, but interpret them. And then it's called management by statistics. That's what determines everything you do, or that's what should determine everything you do, is statistics. And it's never an opinion. And the reason we never use an opinion is because we always lie to ourselves. And that's true. Research has shown, everybody thinks they're thinner than what they are. Everybody thinks they're better looking than what they are. We just always lie to ourselves. That's just a human trait. We always want to look at the bad and not look at the good, emphasize the good, magnify the good, and minimize and not look at the bad and not acknowledge the bad. That's just a human trait. So having said that, you come over, do not make business corrections based on statistics. So you've got to know not only to keep your statistics, how to interpret them, then go, okay, based on these statistics, what correction do we need to make in our business to increase the profitability, productivity, efficiency, all these things? Do not make future goals based on the statistics they want. That's, I'd say that's easily 9.5 out of 10 chiropractors, and not just 10 chiropractors. I found that's just people in general. You'll find that 9.5, 9.9 out of 10 people don't even have their goals down. Now they have dreams, but you won't attain dreams. So, and that's the number one thing right there that tells you if the person's going to succeed in what level. Have they actually made a conscious decision of what they want in life? What do you actually want out of your practice? Did you write it down? And then that can easily be broken down into steps, and then you follow the steps, and it takes you exactly to where you want. People who create goals, keep statistics, those are the achievers. Those are the people that do real well. People that don't do well, they're not people who don't keep statistics. They're not people who don't write down their goals and have plans how to get to making them. It's not just willy-nilly, just going into the office day to day and go whatever. And it's like reactive. Whatever happens today is reactive. And then that's it. You're not doing anything proactive to actually take your productivity in your business in any particular direction. So number 9, do not make proactive plans based on the statistics they want. A lot of people have dreams. They just never focus on a specific thing they want, put a plan in place to get it, and then monitor the statistics, and then interpret the statistics to tell them exactly what needs to be done. So I always say it's very easy for me to look at a practice and see exactly, mainly the statistics, and just look at the statistics, and I can tell you exactly what the chiropractor knows and what he doesn't know, and what a skill level and knowledge level is, just based on their statistics. And then based on the statistics, I immediately can go, well, this is exactly where you can make the most money the fastest. And it's just based on the statistics. So, or same thing, what's inhibiting a practice. This is exactly how you find out one of the ways of how you find out what's inhibiting the growth of a practice. There's a couple factors, but one of the main factors is statistics. So you'll look at space, labor, equipment, knowledge, skill, motivation, and HR and resources, but one of them is statistics. And so it's real easy to isolate a practice and go, okay, well, this is your limiting factor, and therefore it's very easy to turn it around and overcome it. But the very first thing, you have to identify what the problem is before you go into solution mode. And that's not typically what happens. Most doctors won't keep statistics, won't look at them, won't interpret them, and then they'll just make an emotional decision. Well, I think it's this, or I think it's that. That's a sure route to failure right there. So we never listen to opinions. We never listen to opinions in business. When it comes to numbers, it's statistics. That's what we look at, because we will always lie to ourselves with opinions. We will always make it out to be better than what it is. And even when I have doctors that go, well, I don't do as well, it's never even as good as what they think it is. I see that all the time with doctors who are losing patients. They'll go, well, it could be better. They'll say stuff like that. It's okay, it could be better. And then we'll do a dropout statistical analysis. and they're losing like 45% of their patients within the first 6 visits. And they didn't even know it. And basically either half their practice is gone every 6 visits. So just to stay even, they got to get all those new patients within 6 visits. And that's just to stay even, not even to grow. But they don't even know it because they're just using their opinion, and we always distort and lie to ourselves. And it's mainly unconsciously. We don't purposely lie to ourselves. So do not keep and manage weekly staff meetings to evaluate and correct statistics. That's where the statistics are evaluated. They're done every week. And this, by the way, that's how management's done, with how well the employees are doing. All the employees have statistics. So I don't have to see what the employee is doing every day. We just look at their statistics. That tells us their productivity, if they're doing it, they're not doing it, how well they're doing it. We just look at statistics. That tells the whole story. That's if the statistics are kept valid, if they're true statistics. So at the weekly staff meetings is when all this has gone over. This is how you put your practice in a particular direction. You decide where you want to go and why you want to go there. How many visits do you want to see a week? How many new patients do you want to see? How much revenue do you want to generate? Why? Okay, so all of that's written down. In other words, we got to have a direction. It's got to be very specific. And then we go, okay, now once we have that, we put the plan in place. Well, how are we going to get that? Well, then we put the plan in place with baby steps. And then we just train on the baby steps, monitor and train, follow the statistics, look at the statistics every week. That tells us where your weaknesses are, where the strengths are, what needs to be more training. Could be a knowledge issue, could be a skill issue, and that's usually what it is. And so there you have it. You know, it could be space, labor, equipment, knowledge, skill, motivation, HR, and systems. Those are the most common reasons that will inhibit somebody's growth. One of those major factors. You know, I was talking to a chiropractor the other day, and he had a patient retention of, I think it was 12. National average is 18. He didn't even know that there was a better way of doing it. You know, I told him my patient retention was more than 3 times his patient retention. He's like, how do you do that? He was in a total state of unconscious incompetence. He did not even know what he didn't know. And of course, that's the worst state to be in, because now you don't even know you need help. He thought what he was doing was what everybody was doing, and that's how you did it. No, he was terrible. He didn't even know he was terrible. He didn't even know he had a 12 patient visit retention. And when you asked him, he goes, oh yeah, I'm okay with keeping patients. He thought he was at least average. He was about 40%, 30% below average. The national average is 18. He was at 12. See, that's why I keep talking about lying to ourselves. He was just lying to himself. He didn't keep statistics, and then he just lied to himself. And there you go. He wasn't doing very well in practice at all. So that's why I call this the 10 common findings of chiropractic underachievers. You do any of these things, chances are you're an underachiever. When you stop doing these, that's when your whole business turns around. When you keep statistics, learn how to interpret them, take personal responsibility. That's when have a direction of where you want to go, the plan of how to get there. And I say this all the time, it always happens way faster. When you do this, it always happens way faster than what the doctor even can believe. That's like when we open practices, we train the doctors, 90% of them went over 100 patient visits in 90 days. That's from starting from scratch. All cold calls. Because they were trained, we had a goal, we had a system, we knew the steps. There you go. And that's just true of anything in life. So that's what's so valuable about mentors, consulting, checklists. You know, just being trained in a checklist and a blueprint. Well, how do you do that? How do you get from this point to this. And I'm talking about anything, not just new patients, patient retention, how to hire staff, how to keep staff, how to train staff. What's the checklist on how to train staff members? Staff meetings, new patient marketing. These are all checklists. All you got to do is find somebody who actually knows how to do it and follow the checklist. That's how you can get to anywhere in life, to wherever you want to go. But this is what happens. These are the common problems when doctors are underachievers, right there. It all starts with pretty much with statistics and direction. Where do you want to go? What are your statistics right now to get to where you want to go? Most doctors don't keep them. It's usually the top three. They don't keep stats. They distort the stats, like what I shared with you earlier, or they don't take personal responsibility, and they'll lie on their stats. Lie on their stats means don't take responsibility. That's the top three things that I see in underachievers right there.